Welcome back to The Explainer. So, you know that creeping feeling in the back of your mind, that automation anxiety? Yeah, we all have it. Today, we're diving into a fascinating set of ideas that essentially acts as a manifesto for this exact feeling. But instead of just wringing our hands about robots taking over the world, the source material does something really cool. It aggressively redefines what human value actually looks like in an age where machines can do, well, pretty much everything else. We're going to unpack these brilliant concepts so you can see exactly where the economy is heading and, honestly, where you fit into the whole shebang.
Right out of the gate, the source material hits us with this literal reality check. Everything average is collapsing in price. Just let that sit with you for a second. We're not easing into things today. We're starting with the undeniable truth that the middle ground, the standard everyday stuff, its economic floor is just completely falling out.
Okay, let's dive into this. Act 1, the mechanical collapse, or the vulnerability of the status quo. Think about the cold, flawless repetition of modern machines. We're talking about a 3D printer laying down identical layers in an endless loop. Or picture a row of AI-generated headshots scrolling by on your screen, every single one with the exact same perfect lighting, the exact same smile. Imagine a factory robot arm welding this same seam over and over and over again. Or just somebody clicking download on a totally generic stock photo called, Business Handshake 47. What do these have in common? They're repeatable tasks, they're templated processes, systemized outputs. Notice how human faces, actual human friction are totally missing here? It's all about that sterile mechanical repetition.
And that brings us to the absolutely brutal consequence of all that mechanical repetition. It's all trending to zero. When work becomes purely mechanical, when it can just be perfectly replicated without any human friction, its economic value literally vanishes. I mean, if a machine can do something 1,000,000 times a minute for pennies, that premium you used to charge for doing it manually, poof, it's gone. For sure. Just picture this trajectory. Think about the cost of generic copywriting or standard graphic design templates, maybe basic data entry. The drop in price isn't some gradual slope, it is a sheer cliff. And the descent is totally inevitable. The days of making a solid, comfortable living on standard, average output, those days are rapidly disappearing in the rearview mirror.
Which brings us to Act 2, the vertical catalyst, and how AI accelerated this drop. Now, the crucial distinction we got to make here is that AI didn't actually cause this initial collapse. Actually, scratch that. It's more like automation has been threatening the average, repeatable job for decades, right? Closing down old factories and starting that downward curve. But fast forward to today, massive server farms and pulsing GPU clusters took that existing downward curve of value and made it completely vertical. AI didn't start the fire, but it acted as the ultimate accelerant, speeding up the collapse of average to a pace we can barely even comprehend. So, after facing this cold, mechanical reality, what holds value now? What is actually left?
Let's transition over to Act 3, the organic pivot, where we start unpacking true human ingenuity. Here's the very first pillar of that remaining human value, taste that can't be copied. Imagine a chef in a busy kitchen, tasting from a simmering pot, making adjustments entirely by instinct. There's no recipe in sight. Look, an algorithm can give you a recipe perfectly, right down to the literal milligram, but an algorithm absolutely cannot taste the soup. Realize that tomatoes are just a tiny bit more acidic today than they were yesterday, and adjust the seasoning on the fly based on 20 years of culinary experience. That messy, instinctual taste, that is a massive premium asset.
The second pillar is insight that can't be templated. Picture an architect hunched over, sketching on trace paper. The lines are overlapping, they're messy, the whole image just feels alive. It's not some perfectly rendered, sterile CAD drawing. It's a human brain actively working through a spatial problem in real time. It's this beautiful synthesis of context, environment, and human needs into a totally unique design. You just cannot pull that level of contextual insight from a software drop-down menu.
And the final piece of this triad, thinking that can't be generated with a prompt. Think of a creator looking at a massive, perfectly formatted, AI-generated paragraph and just deleting the whole thing. And in its place, they manually type out one single, incredibly impactful sentence with a pen, or, well, on a keyboard. You get the idea. The human edge isn't about generating more volume. Machines are going to win that game every single time. The real human edge is about the critical thinking required to know exactly what needs to be said, and maybe even more importantly, knowing exactly what needs to be cut.
Let's move to see how this all builds in Act 4, the non-standard premium, or the new market reality.
Picture a massive crowd on a busy street, with absolutely everyone walking in the exact same direction. The market no longer pays for average, and if we zoom in even closer, it barely pays for good, because being good at a standardized, repeatable task, it's just not a viable economic strategy anymore. You're essentially just a slightly better version of what a machine can do for free. You're just another face in that massive crowd moving with the herd.
But then the dramatic shift happens. Out of that giant crowd of people all moving one way, one person stops, turns around, and just starts walking the other way. They aren't staring down at a phone, they're looking straight ahead. The market pays for non-standard. True premium value in today's economy lies almost exclusively in your ability to break the template, to step totally out of that systemized flow and offer something entirely distinct.
So let's cement the core takeaway of this entire explainer. What exactly does this mean? Non-standard is human work driven by taste, insight, and original thought that absolutely cannot be replicated by automation or AI props. This isn't just some fleeting business trend or a cool buzzword. We're talking about the ultimate surviving economic class. It's like this. If your work can be prompted, it will be. But if it relies on taste, messy insight, and deep original thinking, well, then it becomes incredibly rare and highly, highly valuable.
Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. Look at your own day-to-day. Look at your specific industry. Are you spending your time perfecting repeatable tasks that are just trending to zero? Or are you actively cultivating those messy, organic, unpromptable skills that make you completely non-standard? That is the absolute crucial question this reality forces us to ask ourselves. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this deep dive helped you see the future of your own work a little more clearly. Until next time, keep learning, and hey, keep stepping out of the crowd.